In a Christian relationship, what are healthy and unhealthy expectations while dating? Dr. Chris Featherstone here for another psychotherapy relationship coaching tip Vision United podcast. Waha. Listen. So, interesting thought I had, and I was looking at some posts and things like that as far as expectations when it comes to dating relationships. So you're dating within a Christian sphere, within a Christian dating couple. What expectations do you have within the stage of dating? And I would say in the beginning, and it really depends on the tenure of the dating. When you first start off, if you're expecting to get to the point of taking the trash out and doing laundry, and the expectation, that becomes a bit of an issue, because what you have to understand is when you deal with expectation, the expectation should be mutually agreed upon with both parties. And if you expect something, that means the other person should remain accountable for it. And that means that they should uphold what you're expecting if both of you agreed upon it. Now, I would venture to say that I would not recommend conversations about I'm expecting to do my laundry to be a part of someone's dating relationship. Now, if someone does do your laundry, that should be a super duper blessing. But guess what? You shouldn't be living together anyways if you're Christians. But here's the deal. Check this out. I think it's very, very important to get to the point of, again, understanding the importance of friendship within a relationship. If you're dating and there's some expectations like, hey, I'm expecting him to take out the trash, I'm expecting her to do my dishes in my apartment, that's a little bit too far-fetched, I would say. And I think it's important to understand that as friends, within friendships, would you do that for your friend? If the answer is yes, sure, you would absolutely do it for a friend. Okay, awesome. That creates a really, really cool dynamic. And if you are doing it for the sake of your friend, I think you should understand where the relationship dynamics should go to as well. So for instance, if I'm thinking in my head, okay, you know what? I would do laundry for a close male friend, right? So if you do that, are you going to do the laundry for the close male boyfriend? Okay, well, if you're going to do the laundry for the close male boyfriend, that's a blessing. But the close male boyfriend who just so happens, the close male friend who just happens to be your boyfriend at the time, should not get to the point where, okay, woman, I'm expecting you to do my laundry. There's no commitment there. There's, if when you get married and there's an expectation set where the wife is going to do the laundry, the male's going to take the trash out, and so forth, if that's what both of you mutually agree upon when it comes to expectations, fantastic. But when it comes to just random expectations and random just reactions toward these random expectations that you created, and then you realize that the person's not upholding the expectations that you created, and now you're upset about it. It's ridiculous. I've had conversations with people about this before when it comes to expectations. A lot of times when it comes to relationships, expectations are not even discussed. And what happens is a lot of anger stems from the unmet expectations. The expectations are unmet because they've never been discussed. So by default, somehow, he thinks that she should be doing this. By default, she thinks that he should be doing this. That was never discussed. It was unmet because the person's thinking in his head or her head, oh, okay, well, I'm just not going to do that today because I'm tired, or I'm not going to do that today because I got other things to do. Okay, well, you should be doing this today. Well, we've never talked about that. So that's the dynamic within relationships. A lot of time that resolves a lot of conflict when expectations are discussed. I don't care if you've been in a relationship for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 15 years. If you haven't done that, I would absolutely highly encourage that you have a conversation with your spouse, and if you're dating, your mate, about what are our expectations, what are our role and expectations. With marriage is a different dynamic because you live together, but when it comes to dating relationships, what is he expecting from her? I'm expecting for you to be my biggest support while we're dating, while we're continuing to maximize our friendship. She's expecting him to support her as well. And if one of them have kids, of course, I'm expecting you to be, again, the more tenure within a relationship, I would hope that if you're dating for marriage, that if there's kid or kids, in the dynamic, that's going to be introduced. And then of course, hey, look, if you're going to support me, you're going to at least be an emotional support. I'm expecting to be an emotional support to my kids as we continue to work this dynamic out. Eventually, you're going to be their stepfather. And so there's a lot of discussions when it comes to expectation there. But just typical practical expectations. If you're dating and then you haven't had, any type of discussion on, I'm expecting you to come to my apartment to take my trash out once a week, boyfriend, or I'm expecting you to come to my apartment to do my laundry once a week, girlfriend. That's unhealthy. It really is. Now, again, if you have that type of dynamic as friends and you can really get to the point where you feel comfortable in doing those very charitable acts as a friend, that's great. But you have to think, would you do that to other friends? Would you go to different friends and do laundry for them, other guy friends? So, would you either go to other girlfriend's house and take the trash out for them? So, it's like you really have to have those conversations when it comes to expectations. Once again, my coaching doctoral advice is there's things that is a part of the joy of marriage, to working as one, to working as a unit. And those type of household practical expectations, they should really be saved for the matrimony. They should be saved for the vows, as far as how the both of you worked interactively within the house. As a couple, as a dating couple, as a dating Christian couple, the housing situation is not a factor, at least for the majority of your marriage, of your dating before marriage. So, don't act married when you're dating. Because if you act married while you're dating, that opens up more of an opportunity to start having sex before marriage, because you've already acting like you're married. And so you might as well just have sex. And then when you're acting like you're married, then there's some expectations when you're married that aren't fair because you're not in that type of commitment. So don't play marriage when you're not married. That's very, very dangerous as a Christian, and it can really lead into some really bad things. And then there's sorrow and there's regret, and you've emotionally attached yourself to somebody who just kind of feels like the thrill is gone, the fade's done, and they didn't make that commitment to you to say, I'm here for the long haul. You think that was that person, but that person eventually said no, because I'm experiencing all of my marriage stuff now before even making the commitment of keeping myself accountable in the marriage to say, I'm going to do these things. I'm vowing to do these things. If you're in a relationship without marriage, you're building all these expectations for this person to do these things for you. including sex, and then they can just bounce and bail out, especially if there's nothing shared with you both. So be very, very careful with that. Christian dating couples, don't play marriage. Get married. If prepare yourself very well to get married. Seek counsel, get therapy. Both of you immerse yourself in God's presence and prayer and scripture and understanding the heart of God through His Word, and do that. Prepare yourself for marriage mentally, spiritually, financially, emotionally. Takes quite a bit. So when it comes to expectations, sir, ma'am, don't play married. Prepare yourself to get married so you don't have to worry about the temptations that are involved as a Christian with playing married instead of being married. Be wise about the expectations that both of you set as a couple, but most importantly, support that person as a best friend. Be in their corner, be with them, and encourage them, challenge them. Those are the things that you should be focused on in a relationship, even from a dating standpoint. You just exclusively get to be that person's biggest supporter on your way to marriage. Support, challenge, cheerlead, spend time with each other, do life with each other, but understand that there are parameters that needs to be saved for marriage. Dr. Chris Featherstone, God bless. Talk to you on the other side.